are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the final.
Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and once again, it is great to have everybody here on this Friday, December 22nd. We have a lot to talk about on the show today. Before I get into that, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, this is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, let's get right into what we are going to talk about for today. So we'll recap last night's game between the Saints and the Rams. There was big playoff implications with that game, so we'll get into that. Then in the second part of the show, we will preview the two Saturday games. The third part of the show will preview all the games for Sunday as well. And then in the final part of the show, we'll preview all the Monday games. So it's all previewing for Week 16, and that's the title of the episode for today. Obviously, Christmas weekend. There'll be no show on Monday, but we'll be back on Tuesday. So that's why we're getting all the previews of all the games for the show today. So so this is show number 2. Obviously, got wrapped up with the baseball. A little over a half hour ago. So so let's get right into the first topic here, which is talking about last night's game between the Saints and the Rams. So, again, this was a big game when it comes to playoff implications, because obviously both teams coming in at 7-7. There's a lot of 7-7 teams. When you look at the NFC, and then you got 8-6 teams over in the AFC. The Rams have been playing really good football as of late. Heading into this game, the Saints coming off of back-to-back wins, although against the Panthers and the Giants. So this was a true test, and once again, we kind of see where these teams are at. The Rams are both teams are heading in different directions. The Rams once again put up 30 points. They ended up winning the game 30-22, and it was kind of a blowout. But then the Saints kind of made things interesting at the end, but ultimately it was too little, too late. So we'll go through the game summary. So the Saints started off with the ball. They went 8 plays, 38 yards, 4 minutes, 36 seconds of time of possession, but they punted. Then the Rams, on their first drive, they went 14 plays, 95 yards, almost 8 minutes of time of possession down the field. And Matthew Stafford on fourth down connected with Puka Nacua for a 2-yard touchdown on 4th and goal. So that made it 7-0 Rams, and then the Saints turned it over on downs. Then in the second quarter, Rams kicked a field goal to make it 10-0. Saints punted, and then the Rams missed a field goal. That was from 47 yards out. And then the Saints actually turned that into points. 3 plays, 63 yards. Derek Carr connected with Juwan Johnson for a 20-yard gain. And then he connected with Rashid Shaheed for a 45-yard touchdown. So that made it 10-7, and you thought, okay, now this is a game. Then the Rams punted. Then the Saints turned it over on downs and gave the Rams good field position, and they cashed that in with a touchdown. Matthew Stafford connected with DeMarcus Robinson for a 32-yard play, and then he connected with him for a 4-yard touchdown. DeMarcus Robinson has really produced these last few weeks, and he's actually scored a touchdown in 4 straight games. So that's your number 3 option right there, and the Chiefs kind of miss him, I would say. You got him, you got Sammy Watkins, who's out there on the free agent market. These were guys that helped the Chiefs win the Super Bowl back in 2019, and man, the Chiefs could use those guys right now. So it was 17-7 at the end of the half. Then to open up the third quarter, the Rams kicked a field goal to make it 20-7. That was 10 plays, 72 yards, almost 4 minutes of time possession. Then Derek Carr threw a pick. It's a bad pass. That got intercepted by Fuller. Rams turned that into a touchdown. Kyron Williams from 10 yards out. He actually got hurt in this game, but was able to come back in, so that's good because he's been unbelievable since he's come back from IR, and that'd be a huge loss. But he was able to return to the game. Then the Saints turned it over on downs. Rams turned it into another field goal. So it was 30-7 going into the fourth quarter. And then the Saints actually scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. But again, it was too little too late. Derek Carr connected with Juwan Johnson for a 5-yard touchdown. The Rams punted, and then Derek Carr connected with A.T. Perry for a 35-yard touchdown. So that made it 30-20, and then Chris Olave caught the 2-point conversion. But ultimately, it was too little too late, like I said. Rams were able to get a first down and run out the clock. And, that was basically how the game ended. 30-22, Rams win, improved to 8-7 on the season. Saints dropped to 7-8, so that's that really hurts their playoff chances. But looking at the stats for the game, Matthew Stafford, another efficient game, 24-34, 328 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Kyron Williams, another great game, 22 carries, 104 yards, and a touchdown. Puka Nacua had a great game, 9 receptions for 164 yards and a touchdown. Demarcus Robinson, 6 for 82 and a touchdown. Cooper Kupp had 6 for 52. Tyler Higbee had 3 for 30. Cooper Kupp dropped a couple of touchdowns in this game, and I saw a TikTok that said he's washed. I mean, come on. The first one, it was out in front of him. He would have had to make a spectacular play to catch the ball. So I'm not going to blame him for that. But the second one, he dropped. So, but I mean, Cooper Kupp's been playing pretty well since the Rams have really started to get it going recently. So I'm not going to say he's washed. But that was a great game by the Rams offense, and they look really good right now. And then as for the Saints, Derek Carr went 27-40, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. The pick was pretty bad. The Rams only ran the ball for 35 yards. Alvin Kamara did not have the game that I wanted him to for one of my fantasy leagues. 9 carries for 19 yards, and then he had 5 receptions for 16 yards. Didn't get anything going. And I was really hoping that he would have a big game and maybe score a touchdown, but that didn't happen. Chris Olave, though, he did show up in my partner league. 9 receptions, 123 yards. Rashid Shaheed had 5 for 70 and a touchdown. Juwan Johnson had 4 for 48 and a touchdown. And A.T. Perry had 1 for 35 and a touchdown. But yeah, so the Saints are 7-8. Now, can they still make the playoffs? Yes, but they need to win their last 2 games. And they are against divisional opponents. They're going up against the Bucs and then the Falcons. So, I mean, really, I think they're... I mean, could they still get the wild card? I guess, but they need a lot of help. But the Rams right now, they are in a really good spot. They play the Giants next week, which I think they should win. So that would get them to 9-7. Now, tough part is they got to play at the 49ers then after that. And who knows what's going to happen? Are the 49ers going to have the number 1 seed locked up? And if that's the case, then maybe they rest some of their guys. But if they don't, then they're going to be playing at full strength. And that's going to be a tough game because the Rams, that's a place they haven't won in a couple of years. So they might have to win out to get in. But, I mean, I feel like at 9-8 they probably still get in. So right now they actually, they have the 6th wild card spot. But, I mean, they have tiebreakers over Seattle. They just beat the Saints. I mean, even if they lose that final game, I think they still get in. Because, you got the Packers at 6-8. The Falcons are 6-8. Saints are 7-8 now. The Seahawks are 7-7. I mean, the Seahawks actually could win out, because they got they're at Tennessee, home against the Steelers, at Cardinals. I mean, we'll see. And then for the Vikings, I mean, they got the Lions twice and the Packers, so maybe, even if the Rams finish at 9-8, they finish over the Vikings. I mean, the Packers, it looked like they were going to be the team that was going to win out. That didn't happen. So, I mean, the Rams right now are in a good spot. I mean, listen, they're scoring 30-plus points. Well, last week they scored 28, but, again, they scored 30 points. They're running the football well. I mean, listen, they can maybe go in and upset the 49ers. It's possible. It's going to be tough, though. It's going to be tough because, I mean, their defense, obviously you still got, you got some young players there. You got Aaron Donald, of course, but I don't know if they're going to be able to win that game if the 49ers are playing at full strength. Because, again, that's been a place that they, have had a problem with. So, but yeah, this win really helps the Rams when it comes to the playoffs. I mean, I expect them to beat the Giants next week. I would be surprised if the Giants somehow pulled it off, but I don't think so. But credit to them because I'll be honest, I really, earlier in the season, and I brought this up yesterday, I believe, I really didn't expect them to make the playoffs. Because it's like when they got blown out by Dallas, I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're not the same Rams team. But Kyron Williams has come back, and that's changed everything. They have a really well-balanced offense. They run the football well, and they got a bunch of weapons. I mean, Puka Nacua, I mean, he's having a great rookie season. Cooper Kupp is back. Higbee's a good tight end. And look at what Demarcus Robinson's been able to do. Like I said, 4 touchdowns in 4 straight games. He's a solid number 3 for them right now. And, Tutu Atwell got hurt, so that that's given him a bigger role, and he's produced. And Matthew Stafford's playing like Matthew Stafford. So this team is going to be dangerous if they get into the playoffs, and this could set up a potential Matthew Stafford return to Detroit in the first round of the playoffs, which would be unbelievable if that happens. I really hope that's the case because you got 2 high-powered offenses going at it, Stafford returning to Detroit, Goff playing his former team that traded him. I mean, that's good. That would be a heck of a game if we get to see that. Now, they did play each other a couple of years ago, but that was when the Lions were terrible and, the Rams were, on their way to a Super Bowl championship. Now, it's different. Lions are a better team. Rams aren't as good as they were a couple of years ago, but they're looking like it right now, at least, on the offensive side of the ball. So, we'll see. I mean, because obviously with the Rams, they don't have Jalen Ramsey anymore. There's no Von Miller, no Leonard Floyd. Like a lot of the guys that were on that Ashawn Robinson, I believe, was on that team as well. So a lot of those guys that were on that Super Bowl team for the defense aren't there anymore. I mean, Aaron Donald is there, of course, but we'll see what happens. But it's the Rams I think get in, but that last game against the 49ers is going to be really tough. It's going to be tough. And that could really determine whether they make it or not. But I think 9 wins should get them in. I mean, because listen, Seattle, they can win all 3 of their games, but they could definitely lose one. If they lose one of them, then that helps out the Rams, and then the other teams. I mean, they beat the Saints already. The Packers, if they finish with the same record as the Packers, if the Packers somehow win their final 3 games, then they'd actually hold the tiebreaker over the Rams because they beat them. That was when Stafford was out. But I think the Rams are in a good spot because a lot of it's not a slam dunk that these teams are gonna win out. I don't think what the Packers have done, it looked like they were going to, and that's not the case. Seattle, who knows? I think the Rams they should get in. They get to 9 wins. If they lose to the Niners, I think they should still be okay. But again, who knows? But if they somehow missed out on the playoffs, that would stink. Because I'd like to see them in. See if Stafford can get another shot at a ring. But we'll have to find out. So with that, we are going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, we are going to preview the Saturday doubleheader. We'll talk about those games when we come back from our first break of the show. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we're back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to preview the Saturday doubleheader. We'll go through both games, and I'll give you my picks for those games. These games are relatively, in my opinion, easy to pick. But who knows? I mean, it's me, so, the opposite could happen. But I don't think so. I did win last night. I took the Rams. Again, I was a little nervous with the 4 points. But the Rams were the better team. And I don't trust the Saints. And maybe if a lot of these teams that I didn't pick every single week, if I would have just went against them, I'd be in a much better position right now. And the Saints are one of those teams because there are a lot of weeks I would take the Saints and they would let me down. But I didn't take them the last 2 weeks and they won and covered. So, but let's go through these two games now here. Enough talking about the Thursday game. So, the first game, that'll be on NBC and Peacock. The second game will be exclusively on Peacock, so make sure to, if you don't have it, download it, get a free trial, whatever you got to do. Call a friend, a family member, because if it wasn't for my cousin, I wouldn't have access to that streaming service. So, although the game is not very enticing now because there's no Justin Herbert and no Keenan Allen, but yeah, so at least the first game will be on TV. So that'll be on NBC and Peacock. But you got the Cincinnati Bengals at 8-6 taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-7. The over/under is 38. Pittsburgh is a 2.5-point underdog. Mason Rudolph will be getting the start in this game. Will he guide the Steelers to a victory on Saturday? No, he will not. I really don't expect much from the Steelers' offense in this game. They just have been struggling. And, I'm also saying that because I'm starting the Bengals in one of the leagues that I'm in the playoffs in. So I'm hoping the Bengals defense does well. The thing is, though, there's most likely going to be no Jamar Chase for this game, which is huge for the Steelers because they're going to be without Minkah Fitzpatrick, who suffered a knee injury against the Colts. So he's out. You got no DeMonte Casey. He's out, suspended, the rest of the year. So the Steelers in the secondary, it's going to be a little bit of an issue. Now, on the Bengals side, so Jamar Chase is going to be out with the shoulder injury this week. So look for T. Higgins, and Tyler Boyd to step up and be more, get more targets, of course. T. Higgins had a really good game. He's coming off of a good game against the Vikings, scoring 2 touchdowns. But again, for fantasy, I don't need him to do that. I'm trying not to see that happen. But with the Steelers and what's going on in their secondary, it could be in for a big game. But to kind of compare the two teams, so passing yards per game, the Bengals are 12th, the Steelers are 31st. Rushing yards, the Steelers are actually 16th. In rushing, which is middle of the pack, and you would think that'd be worse. But Jaylen Warren has definitely helped out with that. Najee Harris, not so much. The Bengals are 31st in rushing. And then points per game, Bengals are 14th, Steelers are 28th, averaging 15.9 points per game. Then you go to the defensive side of the ball. Steelers are 18th against the pass, Bengals are 27th. Rushing yards per game, Steelers are 22nd against the run, Bengals are 28th. And then points allowed, the Steelers are 9th, and the Bengals are 20th. For me, I think the Bengals win and cover. I really just don't trust the Steelers right now. And you would think like they're due for a win. And again, would I be surprised if they win somehow? Because again, Jake Browning is a backup quarterback, but he's shown us something. With the Steelers' backup quarterbacks, not so much. Is Mason Rudolph better than Mitchell Trubisky? Maybe, but is that really saying much? No, not really. And they got a lot of issues. The George Pickens situation, with him not blocking for Jaylen Warren, and, he said that, he basically was making a business decision. But it's just a mess right now, and I just right now the Steelers are on a downward spiral, and I just don't really see them winning, especially again with the injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, listen, TJ Watt could take over the game and he could force a turnover and score a touchdown. I mean, we've seen that. We saw that earlier this year. The Steelers had 2 defensive touchdowns against the Browns earlier in the season. So, I don't know. I just feel like the Steelers are kind of on a downward spiral, and I think that continues. I think the Bengals are the better team. Jake Browning's playing good football. So I unfortunately I gotta take the Bengals in this game to win and cover. So yeah, that's with the first game. So then we go to the second game, and again, I'm set on who I'm taking in this game, as many other people probably. So you got the Buffalo Bills and the LA Chargers. Now, earlier in the season, you see this game and you're like, wow, okay. I mean, listen, got to get a streaming service, another streaming service for this game. But hey, you know what? Josh Allen against Justin Herbert, there's going to be a lot of points scored in this game. Well, now we're getting into this game, and there's going to be no Justin Herbert. There's going to be no Keenan Allen. The Chargers are coming off of a 63-21 loss to the Las Vegas Raiders. The Buffalo Bills coming off of a blowout win against the Cowboys, 31-10. I got the Bills winning by 2 touchdowns in this game. I think they cover this number, 12.5. Chargers are 12.5-point underdogs. The line was at 14, then it went down to 12. But I don't think the Chargers are keeping up with the Bills. Now, the Chargers did fire Brandon Staley. So now everyone's like, well, they fired their head coach, and that could, the team could play better now. Listen, the Bills are on a roll right now. I don't see the Chargers keeping this within the number. I don't, because they got to put up points, and I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. Now, the Bills defense is dealing with some injuries, of course. Something the Cowboys you thought would exploit, but not really. I think the Bills win by. I mean, the Bills definitely are winning, but again, it's a big number. But I'm gonna take Josh Allen and trust him and that Bills offense over what the Chargers have. Especially again, they're without Keenan Allen, so you're gonna have Quentin Johnson, Joshua Palmer have to step up. So you look at the league rankings. Obviously, it's different without Herbert. But, the Chargers were averaging, 258.5 passing yards per game. That's 9th in the NFL. Bills are 13th in passing yards per game. Rushing yards per game, the Bills are 6th. Chargers are 27th. And then the Bills are 6th in points, and the Chargers are 17th. And on the defensive side of the ball, the Bills are 9th against the pass. The Chargers' defense is 32nd. Then rush against the run. Bills are 15th, Chargers are 18th, then points allowed, Bills are 4th, Chargers are 28th. So, yeah, I mean, the Chargers' defense hasn't been good. So that combined with, the injuries at quarterback, I mean, I think the Bills win. They should win like 31-13 or something. That should be like the final score, I think. But, we'll see. I mean, this is a big game for the Bills. Big game for the Bills, big game for the Bengals. I mean, right now, these teams are, they're rolling right now. And, when it comes to the wild card, I mean, you got C.J. Stroud who's not going to be playing, so that's big, because in case, the Texans lose. I mean, the Texans are playing the Browns, so if the Browns win, and the Bills win, that helps the Bills. They jump over the Texans. Yeah, I mean, listen, right now, I mean, I think the Bills are going to find a way to get in. I think they are. Because what's going on with the Texans and Stroud being hurt, I think that's going to hurt them, at least this week. I mean, they did win against the Titans in Tennessee. That was huge. But I feel like this game against the Browns is going to be tough. I think the Browns are going to win that game. And the Bills, I think, are going to win on Saturday. So they're going to jump over the Texans. And then we'll see with the Colts and the Falcons. That game should be interesting. That game, I think, is a toss-up. I know people are just really confident the Colts are going to win, but I don't know. I mean, listen, Atlanta's not – their team on paper is not bad, and they're at home. If they get good quarterback play, I mean, who knows? That game could definitely be dicey. I don't think it's a slam dunk that the Colts are going to win on Sunday. They are getting Jonathan Taylor back, which helps. I believe. So, but yeah, I mean, we'll see. It just doesn't help for the Bills because the Bengals have the tiebreaker over them. And also they can't really afford a loss and the Broncos to win because the Broncos have a tiebreaker over them too. But listen, the Bills got them. They got the Bills got the Chargers, and they got the Patriots. So, I mean, they should be at 10 wins by week 18. It's just going to be that game. It's going to come down to the Dolphins game, for them to get in, and will they be able to do that? But yeah, they still got some teams they got to leapfrog over, but I feel like they could do it. I do, and the Bengals. I mean, listen, you got the Steelers. Then you got the Chiefs after that in Arrowhead. You hope you get Chase back, because if they don't have Chase back for that game, it's going to be tough. I mean, they're going to be without Burrow already. So, but hey, listen, Jake Browning hasn't played bad. So it's just kind of crazy how they're 0-4 in the division this year. But I think they get a win on Saturday, tomorrow, actually. I could say tomorrow. But let me know what you guys think about these games. Who do you think is going to win? How do you see these games shaping out? I mean, I think these games are relatively easy for Saturday, at least. But, again, we'll see. I mean, I'm going to turn on the TV, and Jake Browning's going to throw a pick six or something to T.J. Watt. But listen, the Steelers, they had a 13-0 lead against the Colts, and then everything fell apart. The Steelers are just not a good team right now. And I just don't really see... I really don't see them... I mean, unless Kenny Pickett comes back and saves the season, which it doesn't seem like that's happening, they're going to continue to get bad QB play, and their offense isn't going to score points. Their offense just does not score points. And you got injuries on defense, so it's just... It's going to be tough. But again, the Bengals aren't the best at running the football. Jamar Chase is out. So, I mean, you never know. But I would still lean towards the Bengals. And then the second game, I mean, the Bills should win by, more than 2 touchdowns. I mean, just cover the number. So, so I'm taking the Bengals and I'm taking the Bills. So 2 favorites, But I just can't. I don't trust the Steelers and the Chargers. I get it, but new coach, but it's just I don't trust them covering against the Bills. The Bills are rolling. So before we go into our second break of the show, once again, I just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/GSMCSportsNetwork./tip. And as always, this is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, when we get back from our second break of the show, we will preview all the games for Sunday. I'll give you my picks on those, and that will be the third part of the show when we come back. So, once again, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're now going to preview all of the games on Sunday. And let's get right into that. So we'll start off with the Green Bay Packers taking on the Carolina Panthers. So the Panthers picking up their second win on the season, winning 9-7 against the Falcons. Packers dropping their second straight game, allowing Baker Mayfield to have a perfect passer rating in Lambeau Field. They're 6-8, and yeah, after they beat the Chiefs, you thought, okay, the Packers, here we go, and then that has not been the case. They should have beaten the Giants, but they let Tommy DeVito carve them up at the end. I mean, the defense these last couple weeks has really been the issue. Jordan Love has been playing good. Well, I mean, against the Giants he wasn't great, but still, like they at least scored a touchdown to put themselves ahead. It's just the defense has just been awful, and it could be awful here. The Panthers are 4.5-point underdogs. Packers are actually dealing with a lot of injuries with their receivers. I mean, Jaden Reed is questionable. Dontavian Wicks is questionable. Christian Watson probably isn't going to play again. Packers got a lot of injuries. With that, combined with the fact their defense hasn't been playing good, listen, the Panthers are a team that struggles to put up points. Maybe they could put up points here this week and pull off another upset. Unfortunately, I am not going to take the Panthers. I will take the Packers here. I think the Packers are due for a win. I think they should bounce back here, so I'm going to take them to win and cover. Because again, I don't trust the Panthers. I mean, do I trust the Packers? Not really, but I trust it. At least with the Packers, I trust them a little bit more than I do. Well, I shouldn't say a little bit. I trust them more than I do with the Panthers. Because the Panthers, they still didn't score a touchdown. They scored 3 field goals, and they still won. So I think the Packers get right here. I think they win by at least a touchdown, so I'll take them. Then in the second game, we got the Colts and the Falcons. And this game, I don't know what to do with this game right now. The line actually went up. So the Colts actually were originally the favorites. But now the line has changed, and now Atlanta is 2.5-point favorites. And it's interesting because Jonathan Taylor might be coming back. So why is that the case? I guess because now Taylor Heineke, he's starting at quarterback. He is the better option of the two, even though it's really not saying that much. I actually do have the Falcons winning this game in a bounce back. I don't feel great about it, but I like them to win and cover in this game. But I think it's gonna be close, and I feel like people are like, oh, the Colts should definitely win this game. I mean, you don't know that. You don't know that. I mean, the Colts. I picked the Bengals in the game, but they lost by 3 scores against the Bengals and Jake Browning. I mean, Jake Browning's been playing better, but still, the Colts aren't a slam dunk to win this game. It definitely could be a trap game here, and the Falcons need this game because if they don't win, I mean, they're pretty much done. Their playoff hopes are done. So, I'm taking them to win and cover. Then we move on. This line actually changed. In the spread pool, it stays. It didn't change. But here, the Texans right now, 3-point underdogs at home against the Browns, and that's because there's most likely going to be no C.J. Stroud for this game. It's going to be Case Keenum. But now they're going up against the Browns, and Joe Flacco's been playing good, other than the turnovers, But listen, he was able to come back, lead the Browns to a comeback victory against the Bears on Sunday. And listen, I think the Browns get it done here. I think they win and they cover the number. But you know what? It should still be, a tough game. The Texans, that was a gutty win against the Titans on Sunday. We'll see if Nico Collins comes back for this game. But I got the Browns winning, and I think they cover this. I mean, in my spread pool, they're still getting the points, so, I'm going to take that regardless. So then we move on to the Lions and the Vikings. Vikings coming off of that tough overtime loss against the Bengals last Saturday. Lions coming off of that huge win last Saturday against the Broncos, 42-17. This is in Minnesota. I like the Lions to win and cover. I think they're inside. Nick Mullins is turning the ball over. Lions defense played better. We'll see. It's a divisional matchup, but I like the Lions to win and cover this number here, and they continue to roll. So then we move on. the Commanders and the Jets. So right now the Jets are 3-point favorites. I'm going to be honest. This game is going to be subject to change. Right now I have the Jets, but I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about it because on one hand, you got the Jets who have a bad offense, and then on the other hand, you got the Commanders who have a terrible defense. So something's got to give, right? Now, I got to start Garrett Wilson this week in one of my fantasy leagues because there's no Keenan Allen this week. But I don't know who the quarterback's going to be. Is it going to be Zach Wilson? It's going to be Trevor Siemian? Is it going to be Brett Rippon? I mean, it seems like Siemian, I think, is going to start if it's not Zach Wilson. But I need Garrett Wilson to have a breakout game here because this league that I'm in, I mean, I coasted through the regular season. Coasted. And then the last 2 weeks, Keenan Allen gets hurt, Tyreek gets hurt, and I don't drop over 100 points. And now, Kamara gets 6 points last night. I'm projected to lose. And now I got to start Garrett Wilson, and I don't trust him. Now, it's not because of him. It's because of the quarterback situation. It's terrible. So right now I got the Jets winning and covering because the Commanders are terrible. The Jets have a good defense. I mean, but they can't put up points. So I don't know. I subject to change. Then we move on to the Seahawks and the Titans. Seahawks coming off of that big win against the Eagles, and the Titans coming off of that tough overtime loss to the Texans. Now, we could be seeing Ryan Tannehill in this game because Will Levis got hurt late in the game, so he could be making his return. And I don't know if Drew Lock or Geno Smith is going to start. But, I mean, in the spread pool, my spread pool, it was 2.5. Now it's up to 3. I mean, I think Seattle's the better team here. I mean, I could see maybe the Titans keeping it within the 3. I mean, again, my spread pool is 2.5. So I'll take the Titans plus 3, but I feel like this will be a field goal game. So I'm gonna keep it Seattle, but we'll see. Then another game where we might not see a starting quarterback, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Battle of the Florida teams. Bucks obviously coming off of that huge win against the Packers. Baker Mayfield, the perfect passer rating. Then winning 34-20, and then the Jaguars losing 23-7 to the Ravens. And Trevor Lawrence right now, who knows if he's going to play? If he does play, I'm going to take the Jags. If he doesn't play, I'm going to take the Bucks because C.J. Beathard, I really just don't expect him to, win a game for the Jaguars if he does start. So I'm going to take. Right now, I have the Bucks, but again, if Trevor Lawrence ends up playing, I'm going to switch over to the Jags. So then we move on to the Cardinals and the Bears. Bears coming off of that tough loss against the Browns that basically knocks them out of any kind of playoff contention. Darnell Mooney holds on to that Hail Mary. We're having a different conversation, but yeah, so they're 5-9. Cardinals coming off a blowout loss against the Niners. Right now, they're 4-point underdogs against the Bears. I'm going to take the points. Listen, the Bears' defense has been playing better, so they can maybe contain Kyler Murray and that offense, but I don't know. I just don't trust. I don't trust the Bears to cover here, but we'll see because their defense has been playing better football. Justin Fields again has been okay, but I'm going to take them with the points. Then we move on to the biggest game on Sunday, and that's the Cowboys and the Dolphins. 2 10-4 teams. Obviously, they get their share of criticisms. The Cowboys, they can't play on the road. The Dolphins, they can't beat a team with a winning record. So something's got to give here. For me personally, how the Cowboys defense played last week really, how they've been playing lately has concerned me. I know they played well against the Eagles, but against the Seahawks, they weren't good. And against the Bills, they weren't good. They let James Cook run all over them, and now you got yourselves going up against Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane. Tyreek Hill could be back. He did practice yesterday, so maybe he does come back for this game. I hope he does for many reasons. Well, mostly fantasy. But listen, I like the Dolphins to win this game. I think the Cowboys drop 2 straight. For me, it's because of the defense. The defense really concerns me because if they're able to run the football the Dolphins are able to run the football like the Bills did, I mean, this is, and then you got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle you got to cover. It's going to be tough. So, but, if the Cowboys could put up points, then that's a different story. But I like the Dolphins to win. Right now, they're a 1-point favorite. I think they win and cover the number. So, I've taken a lot of favorites. So, some of them we got to change, but I got to figure out. Well, this one I'm taking an underdog. So right now, the Patriots are 7-point underdogs in Denver. This is the Christmas, right? The Christmas Classic. NFL Network keeps saying, yeah, the 3-10 Patriots and the 7-7 Broncos. What a great game. I actually, first, the Broncos coming off of that blowout loss against the Lions. The Patriots losing by a couple scores against the Chiefs. I think the Broncos win this game. However, I think the number's too big. I got to take the Patriots with the points. The Patriots have a good defense still. I think they're going to be able to keep it close. Ramondre Stevenson is questionable for this game, so maybe he comes back. I know Hunter Henry got hurt against the Chiefs, so we'll see what happens there. But, yeah, I think the Patriots keep it within the number. I don't trust the Broncos with that big of a number. But who knows? So, yeah, that's my pick there as the Patriots. So to run through the Sunday games, so I got the Packers winning and covering, the Falcons winning and covering, the Browns winning and covering, the Lions to win and cover, the Jets at the moment to win and cover, but I might change that. I got the Titans covering the 3 against the Seahawks, but I got the Seahawks winning. Subject to change, but I got the Bucks winning and covering against the Jags, Cardinals covering against the Bears as an underdog, Dolphins winning and covering, and then the Patriots covering the spread, but Broncos still win for the nightcapper. But, yeah, those are all the games from Sunday. And then, of course, we have the Christmas games, which we will take a close look at when we come back from our final break of the show. This is going to be a good weekend. Football, 4 out of the next 5 days is not too bad. Obviously, no football tonight when it comes to the NFL. But I actually did have the bowl game last night, Syracuse. What a disaster that game was. What was it? The final score ended up being what? 45-0 was the final. Yeah, 45-0 to South Florida. What a disaster that game was. I wasn't watching it very closely, but this was for the Boca Raton Bowl. But yeah, 45-0. And I think Syracuse used both teams used multiple quarterbacks. But yeah, the stats for this game. 6 for 13, 84 yards, 4 for 11 for 55 yards, 2 interceptions. Yeah, they could not get anything going. But yeah, obviously the college football playoff is coming up, so like I said, we'll preview those games. I actually do have a bowl game today, the Gasparilla Bowl. That's going to be between Georgia Tech and UCF, and then we got some bowl games tomorrow. But yeah, college football playoff is coming up. It'll be here before we know it. The craziness will begin on New Year's Day. Obviously Alabama, Michigan, and then Texas and Washington as well. So, so with that, we're going to take our final break of the show now. When we come back, we will preview the games that will be taking place on Christmas Day, the Monday games. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast, and for the final part of the show, we are now going to go through the Christmas games on Monday. We'll talk about that. Well, we'll talk about them, and I'll give you my thoughts on those and my picks, and yeah, that'll be it. So the first game that gets us started is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Las Vegas Raiders. So the Chiefs are 10-point favorites. The over-under is 41. The Chiefs, 5th in passing yards per game, 19th in rushing yards per game, 10th in points per game. Raiders are 22nd in passing yards per game, 32nd in rushing, which, again, hard to believe when you got Josh Jacobs, and then 24th in points per game. Then on the defensive side of the ball, both teams are actually top 10 against the pass. Chiefs' defense is 5th. Raiders is 10th. Rushing against the run, the Chiefs are 14th. Raiders are 23rd. And then points allowed, the Chiefs are 3rd. And the Raiders are 9th. So top 10 in points allowed. So, yeah, I mean, the Raiders' defense has improved. But, I don't know. For me, for this game, I just think the Chiefs, I think they win by multiple scores. Now, how the Raiders can keep this close, I mean, if Josh Jacobs is back, got to run the football. Keep Patrick Mahomes off the field. And look, the Chiefs haven't been great, of course, on offense. I mean, they have their issues. I mean, we saw more of it last week with Kadarius Toney, again, not being able to hold on to a pass that gets, hit up in the air and then gets intercepted. But I think with the Chiefs at home, I think they should be able to beat the Raiders by more than 10. You got both you got both teams from last year's Super Bowl playing, and then you got maybe a Super Bowl preview. But I see that there's because I'm looking on CBS, there's snow in the forecast. So we'll see. But I kind of need Josh Jacobs and Isaiah Pacheco, who will be making his return to the game. I kind of need them to not do good because Kamara didn't do good last night. So I kind of need them to, take it down a notch. But the last time they played each other, Pacheco had like 20 and Jacobs had 20. And I'm going against both of them this week. So, yeah, not looking good, again, in that league. I do have Harrison Butker, so maybe Harrison Butker kicks 6 field goals and, the Chiefs cover. That would be nice. But, yeah, I just – look, the Raiders are coming off of that 63-21 performance against the Chargers, but now they're going up against a much better defense, a much better quarterback. Again, the weapons, I get it. The wide receiver, at least. Obviously you got Travis Kelce and Pacheco's coming back. Edwards-Helaire was making plays. That touchdown reception he had was nice. Pacheco's back. McKinnon, of course, scoring another touchdown. It's the receivers. That's what the problem is. Well, except Rashee Rice. Rashee Rice has been producing. So, but yeah, I got the Chiefs winning and covering the 10. So then we go into the second game. We got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the New York Giants. Right now, the Eagles are 13.5-point favorites. The line jumped from 10.5 to 13.5. The Giants have not won in Philadelphia since 2013, and I talked about this. The last time they won was 2013. Eli Manning was obviously the quarterback, and the quarterback for the Eagles. Michael Vick played in the game, but you also had Matt Barkley, who was the quarterback. Now you got Tommy DeVito, backup quarterback for the Giants, playing in this game. Eagles obviously coming off of that tough loss against the Seahawks, now losing 3 in a row. The Giants, the Tommy Cutlets, they lost 24-6 to the Saints. Listen, I really don't expect the Giants to be that competitive in this game, even though the Eagles' defense hasn't been playing well. You would think this is a good spot for their offense to, maybe put up some points because of how the Eagles' defense has been playing. But again, it's a division rival. Eagles know how to play against the Giants. I just think the Giants are going to struggle to put up points, and I got Saquon Barkley this week, and I'm hoping that he puts up maybe double-digit points, puts in a respectable performance, because by the time this game starts, I'm going to have a good idea of where I'm going to finish, in my matchups, because in my redraft league, my friend has 5 people playing on Christmas. Pacheco, Jacobs, Mahomes, and Debo Samuel and Jake Elliott. So by the time we get to this game, I'll know, well, I got no shot. I'm done. Which is kind of trending that way, especially after what Kamara did last night. But yeah, with this game, I mean, the Eagles have a good run defense. I mean, listen, Kenneth Walker had a nice rushing touchdown against them. So maybe Barkley, can get things going, hopefully. Maybe the Giants' offensive line can give him some holes to run through. Because he really struggled, to get things going against the Saints. The Giants just couldn't get anything going. Tommy DeVito's getting sacked all over the place. And if he gets a late hit, can the refs please call a flag and not pick it up? I mean, I don't understand what that was all about. They throw the flag in the Saints game, and then they just pick it up. Guys getting no protection out here. And then the week before that against the Packers, they didn't call it. So, but yeah, I got the Eagles winning and covering though. I don't think this is gonna be much of a game. Especially because how the Giants play in Philly, and now you got a backup quarterback. So, and they struggled to really do anything on offense last week. But who knows? Then we got the game of the week right here to finish off this slate. You got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Game of the year, possibly. Ravens are at 11-3. Niners are at 11-3. Both have the best records in their respective conferences. Ravens coming off of that 23-7 win over the Jags, and the Niners coming off of that 45-29 win over the Cardinals. Niners at home for this game. Unfortunately for the Ravens, we talked about this earlier in the week, but Keaton Mitchell, is going to be out for the rest of the season with the ACL tear. And he was running the football effectively for them. So now it's really going to be up to Gus Edwards, Justice Hill. They actually promoted Melvin Gordon to the active roster, so he's going to be playing on Monday as well. This is going to be a tough game. The Niners are favored by 5.5. The over-under is 47. Again, this is going off of CBS. I took the Ravens with the points in this game. I think that this game is going to be close. I think it's going to be first of all, I'm hoping it's a good game, but I feel like I always say that with these kinds of games. But I feel like the Ravens can keep this close. The Niners are rolling right now. They are they are dominating teams left and right. The Eagles and the Cardinals. They're killing teams. Obviously playing Seattle twice in 3 weeks. They dominated them in both of those games. I think the Niners still win because I think they're the better team. But I like the Ravens to cover the number here. But again, this is a true test for both of these teams. Because the other thing is too, a lot of people are like, well, can anybody beat the Niners? Yes, the Niners got beat earlier in the season, but now with how the Niners are rolling with everybody healthy, like, can a team, against the healthy 49ers squad, can they be beat? And the Ravens, I think they could be one of those teams that can. This could be a Super Bowl preview. And it's weird because if you look at the Super Bowl logo for this year, it's literally their colors. And last two Super Bowls were the colors of the teams that ended up making it, which is weird. So maybe it's set up for that. I don't know. Lamar Jackson playing good football as of late. He's getting himself involved in the MVP conversation. And then you also look on the other side, you got two MVP candidates with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey. Well, Brock Purdy right now is the favorite, but I think it should be Christian McCaffrey. But we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening. But I think it'll be close. I think this game is going to be... I actually might take the under in this game. I'm going to say the final score is going to be... I'm going to say 24-20, I think is the final score. I think it's within the number. I think the under just hits. But who knows? Listen, if the 49ers, move the ball against the Ravens well, then it's going to be tough. But you know what? Listen, they give Lamar Jackson time. And the Niners in the past, they've struggled with mobile QBs, and Lamar Jackson is mobile. So, you got to get some of your receivers going because, Zay Flowers and OBJ, they did nothing last week. You were throwing to Rashad Bateman, and Isaiah Likely had a good game. He had a touchdown. It's going to be tough running the ball against the Niners. Obviously, we'll look at the comparisons between the two teams, the league rankings. So, Niners are third in passing yards per game. Ravens are 21st. Ravens are the number one team in rushing yards per game in the NFL. The Niners are third. And then they're top 5 in points per game. Niners are third. Ravens are fourth. Then on the defensive side of the ball, the Ravens are 8th against the pass. The Niners are 16th. Both teams are top 10 against the run per game, rushing yards per game. Niners are third. Eagles are 10th. And then points allowed, they're top 2. Ravens are first, and the Niners are second. So we'll see. We'll see. I guess I would take the under. But I'm excited. That's a great way to end the night. Is having those two teams play because the first two games are, not very good. Not very good. I don't expect those games to be that good. I think we're going to see more of what we saw on Thanksgiving, blowouts. That's what we're going to see. But not this final game. I think this final game is going to be close. You got a relatively healthy Ravens squad. They're missing some pieces on offense, but they still got their quarterback. I think they'll be able to keep it close. And because we saw earlier in the season, if the Niners don't get pressure, we saw Kirk Cousins, carve him up. We saw Joe Burrow carve him up. And obviously you probably say they're better passers than Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson can make plays in many ways, and he can make them with his legs. And Niners are a team that they've struggled with mobile QBs, so we'll see what happens. But so for those 3 games, Chiefs covering against the Raiders, Eagles covering against the Giants, and then the Ravens. I'm taking them with the points to cover against the Niners, but I still think the Niners win. So Chiefs, Eagles, and Niners I think all win, but I got the Ravens covering. But that's pretty much it with the show for today. If you guys tuned in for both shows, I really appreciate it. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy the holidays. Spend some time with your family and friends. It's the best time of the year, of course. Once again, there'll be no show on Monday. We'll be back on Tuesday. So we'll recap all the games, of course, how I did. And, you'll probably might be a post-mortem depending on what happens with my fantasy teams this week. So hopefully I win in both leagues. I get myself to the championship game, so I at least have a shot. And then I'll make sure to get the shows up on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts. And, of course, I'll be reposting the shows into the 4 segments throughout the day. Look out for the shorts, of course, that'll come out as well. But, that's pretty much it. So, with that is all the time that we have for today. I thank you guys for tuning in for both shows. And as always, I'm Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the games. And happy holidays. Take care.